99. This is from Evan, one of my players on one of my travel teams.
Oh, cool.
He said,
awesome.
So when Ben and I, because they all listen to the show.
Awesome.
So, guys, you should be working on your baseball game.
Yeah, by the way.
And by the way, he said, okay, if we were looking at NIL deals in our day, what would we want to be represented by?
I always love the game, and it goes on, for basketball teams that score 100 points, where you do something and then a restaurant or whatever gives you something for free. I would have loved it if, like, every touchdown I scored, that would be. Honestly, I was thinking about the establishment we used to go to in my day, Skips. Like, if you got
Skips was a local establishment.
If you got 50% off your Skips tab because Darnell scored and would bring in your ticket stub. That would be awesome.
Hey,
everybody be rooting for me all the time. Like, the touchdown celebrations would be worth a lot more. Like, Kurt would be in on that.
Maybe you get a bacon double cheeseburger.
Fan, definitely. I like those ones. That's like
with the special sauce on it because that's Darnell.
As far as like the product goes, I really don't care. I just like it to be creative. I don't want it to just be like, here, I'm this guy and do this. Like, I would like it to be interactive with the actual action on the field.
I mean, listen, and Kurt grew up about the same time as me. Hot rods were big in the 70s because we didn't have a lot of money. We're blue collar, so everybody was driving around in an old like Chevelle Super Sport or whatever. So for me, it would have been like an auto parts store, because everybody needed parts. They needed to be fixing their car all the time. So what was the one auto parts place that's around here that's still around? The blue one.
Blue one.
Napa?
Okay. Napa auto parts. So you always saw their little
junkyard kind of stuff, like Mark's Auto Parts.
That would be the one.
I mean, that would be good too.
Like, I think with the NIL deals, especially locally, like when you're obviously at the D1 level, that's going to be a completely different. When you're pro, you're completely different. But like coming out of high school to be sponsored by Mike's Junkyard over on
would be cool.
I think so too.
Listen, I mean, those are the sponsors now. If you go to any high school field in Connecticut,
right,
you've got all the local things. I remember my high school coach. This is why this hits home to me. The late John Fontana, my high school coach, we had to go out there and sell advertising for our yearbook.
Right.
That's how we raised money for our uniforms and our trip to South Carolina, et cetera. And, and almost everybody would be like, okay. I mean, it was like you'd walk into whatever place, factory or whatever, Sikorsky, Pratt & Whitney or whatever, and it's like, okay, how much? $50, okay. And they'd write you a check. And so you'd come back, you think you were like a hero and stuff, but like he had it all worked out anyway. Like he had already given you a list where to go, and he knew they were going to donate, and so you'd get a positive response to you going out there and doing something in the community. I thought was great.
I think back in the day too, like if I was around here, I'm surprised that it doesn't happen more often. Like when I heard this NIL stuff, I thought it was going to get very local, and like guys that just like Donovan, for example, Donovan being our guy.
Everybody in Bristol would want to sponsor this
like
dude.
Every little business that we have would throw him like the $50 or like, can you just do this for $100? Like Kurt Kaplan's grave digging service, like that would be awesome back in the day. And then to match the product, like how cool would it be to be sponsored by a grave digging service, especially if you're like a defensive tackle and you get a sack and it's like brought to you by Kurt Kaplan's grave digging service. That'd be so awesome.
And Bob's Body Bags.
Well, and one of my best friends growing up actually owned the Della Vecchia funeral home.
Right.
And he worked there part-time. I would have loved to have been sponsored by a funeral home.
Why haven't funeral homes
gotten into this game? I'm going to put you in a casket, bro. Get up there to the plate.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Kurt, what was yours?
I was thinking whiskey.
Yeah, of course.
What? You're 16, 17 years old.
Which are against the NIL rules. You can't really do that. I don't think many universities, minus West Virginia, let you do that stuff. But
all right, down in Florida, which is where I was, I mean, you know what was huge were those drive-through liquor stores. The ABC package store was fabulous. That, honestly, back then, I'm so old, 18 was the legal age to drink. We probably could have gotten that as an NIL deal.
I'm surprised you Cincinnati Reds didn't get into that in Ohio, man. That's like in Florida, down south, those drive-thrus have kind of faded away, but the Ohio drive-through Packy store is still alive and well.
This is the worst state on the planet, man. We're only open till 9 o'clock. I can't believe we actually get to buy beer on Sundays here.
I gotta get out of my car.
I gotta get out of my car and go to the package store, the Packy. If I say Packy, when I used to say Packy to Norm from Texas,
you guys talk
what's a package store?
I have no idea.
They thought that was like UPS.
I did
I'm like,
too.
no, that's our liquor store.
I thought that's
Or
where
the
you got
package store.
boxes and tape, and like it would help you like get your stuff around so
No.
you can move easy. Like that's what I thought you guys were
Dude,
talking
when I
about.
when I went to Florida at 18 years old, to Florida Southern, and I saw this drive-through like liquor store, I was like, oh my god, this is thrilling. This is like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It is a
and
treat.
then all of my friends down there that all had pickup trucks, they all had a case of Budweiser on ice. They were 18 years old, freshmen in college. I'm like, that's what we've been doing most of our lives, dude. And like,
The other thing you guys might not know, it's not called Nips anywhere else. Like you're the
we
only
don't call them nips.
you people around here call them Nips.
Do they call them nips?
Nips, the little
The little shot, like
Yeah.
one shot.
we call them airplane
Liquor
bottles.
bottles?
I've heard shooters, but Nips has never been a thing until I came around here. Yeah, John and Kurt in unison shaking their head yes.
Yeah, I only knew it because I didn't see it until I was on airplanes when I was in professional baseball.
Yeah.
And then it was more like the refrigerator, or what do they call it? The mini bar. To me, it was a mini bar
bar,
bottle.
yeah.
So that's what it was to me, that you rated your mini bar and you're drinking those little things. But see, I was never a hard liquor guy, so I was never big on those nips.
We started our own brand in college, and this is like if I were to have a shoe, and I did have my own shoe in college. It just wasn't on the books because the NIL wasn't around back then. But it wasn't like the cleat that I was playing sports in. No, we were
Is that a shoe store?
No, we were representing Velcro shoes, and you can find
The
them.
Velcro you pulled over the top?
Usually, you find this on an 85-year-old
Yes.
man.
It makes it easier if you don't have to tie your shoes.
But when you saw a whole football team come out of the weight room with gray crows, is what we called them. We took off the Vel and just called them crows.
Crows?
You would at first you would make fun, and then you would see about 40 other dudes wearing some crows, and you're like, man, these guys got something going on. That permeated to the rest of the university. Crows took over. I would dare to go back to my old alma mater and see a lot of crows walking around.
Now you know, you'll see Crocs.
There wouldn't be much
Everybody
money in
wearing
the
Crocs.
crow sponsorship, though. Like, how much? I think we were buying them for $9.95 a pair. So,
Slip-ons were big. They're coming back a little bit,
Oh,
but my
slip-ons
guys
are
are going
back.
between Crocs and the flip-flops, and I'm just like,
how many of your guys actually tie shoes besides their cleats?
counting the ones that their mothers are doing it.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, my
How old
God.
are we?
15.
Oh my god! This is the thing down south.
I was working a 40-hour week by
It's so
then.
true. So true.
I
Two
was
jobs.
working at a gas station at 15.
Do your guys
Unstable.
take their shoes off? That was big down south. All the kids take
Well,
their
no,
shoes
because
off when
they have
practice was
slides. They have slides or Crocs. They're right to them.
No, I'm saying like it's stretching time, practice is done. All my guys are popping their shoes off. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Ah, man, I gotta get my shoes off, man.
Oh, these guys, nah, dude. These guys, they love. They're like the big leaguers. They have pink spikes. They
Oh,
have
goodness.
multicolored spikes. Because now you can make your own spikes online.
Should
yeah.
make my own crows.
We'll be right back with who we had.